Let's take a look at two-star pitchers and sleeper hitters for Week 5. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Friday, April 25th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Let's preview Week 5 and take a look at the schedule for next week. Two teams with 5 games, the Padres and Mariners. We have 18 teams with 6 games and 10 teams with 7 games. The Reds, Guardians, Rockies, Tigers, Twins, Mets, Athletics, Cardinals, Rangers, and Nationals. As for the Rockies, they do have 7 games. 3 are in Coors Field against the Braves, 4 on the road against the Giants. Starters sit these two-star pitchers, and up first, Scott, Ronel Blanco, kind of a down season so far, but good matchups. Home against the Tigers, at the White Sox.
Yeah, I was tempted to put him in the must-start tier of the two-star pitcher rankings because the matchups are so good, and he's coming off one of his best starts. As it is, Ronel Blanco leads the advisable in most cases tier.
Tanner Bybee entered the season as a must-star pitcher, but it's been a rough go so far. He's home against the Twins and at the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think in most cases you're probably going to start him just because he's Tanner Bybee and he's in line for 2 starts. So I could understand playing it safe in a roto league maybe, but most cases you're probably going to start Tanner Bybee.
Taj Bradley, home against the Royals and at the Yankees.
That's basically Yankee Stadium twice since his home park has the same dimensions, and he is a pitcher who's vulnerable to the long ball. So it's pretty scary here. But also a lot of bat missing potential for Taj Bradley. So it just kind of depends how brave you are.
All right, what about Bowden Francis, home against the Red Sox and Guardians?
Yeah, you're probably, if you're keeping him around and he still is widely rostered in CBS Sports leagues, you're probably just going to play him with 2 starts. I'm fine with that.
Eduardo Rodriguez at the Mets and at the Phillies.
Enigmatic pitcher with 2 tough matchups. That's a pass for me.
And 3 other names, I'll just ask because someone out there is going to think about it. Tomoyuki Sugano, home against the Yankees and Royals.
Wouldn't be me.
Chase Dolander, home against the Braves at the Giants.
Also not me.
And Will Warren at the Orioles, home against the Rays.
Nope.
All right, Scott, who are some 2-star pitchers that you do like to add and stream for next week?
Okay. Reese Olson, surprisingly, only 68% rostered in CBS Sports leagues. That needs to go up regardless of the 2-start status. But since he is making 2 starts, coming off his best 2 starts so far, at Houston, at the Angels, Reese Olson tops the list here of streamer pitchers for Week 6. Griffin Canning, up and down, but not any starts that have been too terribly bad. At Washington, at St. Louis, those are decent matchups for Griffin Canning. I think he's an okay choice. Don't love him long term, but not a bad streamer. Andrew Heaney was dominant last time out. Most swinging strikes in a start. First time he had 20 at least since 2020. So he missed a lot of bats last time out. I don't really buy it for Andrew Heaney in the matchups this week. Cubs and Padres, pretty tough there. But streamer pitchers, sometimes I got to put pitchers I don't believe in that much, and that's why Heaney's on this list. JP Sears, fly ball pitcher at Texas, at Miami. I could see that going well, though not a particularly high ceiling for Sears. And finally, Luis Ortiz, the whiffs have been up for him. I think this is pretty strictly a points league play. Really, I would say Heaney, Sears, and Ortiz, all 3 are just points league plays. But he gets the Twins and the Blue Jays, does Ortiz.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Welcome back in FBT Express. We are previewing Week 5 of the fantasy baseball season. Scott, who are some 1-start pitcher streamers you like for next week?
We got Jose Soriano against the Tigers. I still think there's a lot to like that even though his last start was rough. And I think the Tigers are a good matchup, even though their run total this year puts them pretty high. you just look at the names in the lineup, the last 4 or 5 spots in particular are pretty bleak. So I think we're going to view that as a favorable matchup still. Soriano gets them. Hayden Wesneski also gets the Tigers, and has been doing some interesting things this year. I think he's worth a look. Let's see. Tobias Myers just came off the IL Thursday. It was a short start, but he looked like the same guy we saw last year, and he is at the White Sox. That's the main reason to be interested in Tobias Myers. Justin Verlander gets the Rockies in San Francisco. You got to like that matchup. And he's coming off his best start. Another one coming up over the weekend, so we'll see how that goes for Verlander. It might scare me away if it goes poorly, but either way, really good matchup against the Rockies. And finally, Chad Patrick of the Brewers has been surprisingly good so far. Still don't quite know what to make of him, but that matchup, like Tobias Myers, it's at the White Sox. So it doesn't feel like there's much downside risk.
Let's slide over.
Only 11% rostered as Chad Patrick, widely available.
Let's slide over to the hitters. The best matchups for next week: Twins, Giants, Mets, Reds, and Brewers. The worst hitter matchups: White Sox, D-backs, Padres, Angels, and Rays. So if you needed more motivation to bench your White Sox hitters, this is it. All right, Scott, who are your sleeper hitters for next week?
Yeah, whatever White Sox hitters you have to sit. Okay, so Luke Keeschel, top of the list here. You mentioned the Twins have the best matchups. He has started every game since coming up. He's gotten on base a ton. He's on a record-setting steals pace. Not that he's going to quite sustain that, but he's going to steal bases. And I think with those matchups, with the way Keeschel's performed so far, I think he's the top sleeper hitter for this upcoming week. You mentioned the Brewers having the 5th best hitter matchups. Sal Frelick and Rhys Hoskins are both on this list because of that. Hoskins has picked up the pace after a slow start. Frelick's been performing great all along. I think they both need to be rostered more. You mentioned the Reds have the 4th best hitter matchups. 7 games for them, all at home. The most homer-friendly venue in baseball. That's always good news for TJ Friedl, who I think is one of the more under-rostered hitters in general. He's already stolen 5 bases, batting leadoff, hitting well. So I got TJ Friedl on here for week 6, but also Austin Hayes, who's looked great since coming off the IL, and Noelvi Marte, whose dormant potential has come alive again. Hopefully the Reds can keep giving him starts through week 6. Matt Mervis is on this list. He sits against left-handers, but only one of those on the schedule for the Marlins this week, so hopefully he can give you a couple homers. Giants with the 2nd best hitter matchup. They have a couple hitters worth mentioning here. Mike Yastrzemski, off to a great start. Don't really think it's going to last, but with those matchups, hopefully it'll last at least another week. Wilmer Flores, the Giants, DH, also off to an unsustainable start, but you can take advantage of him as a streamer option this week. Finally, a Brave here, because the Braves are the one team traveling to Colorado this week, taking advantage of Coors Field. Alex Verdugo, only 8% rostered. He's their new leadoff hitter. And if they pile up runs in Colorado, you have to think he'd be one of the biggest beneficiaries of that.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.